to Tailgate Talk, brought to you by friends at Buckler Outfitters. I am Sean Ritter, joined today by the rest of the gang. Eric Tasker, Paul Wagner. You want to follow us on socials, it is at On The Tailgates. I am at The Real Ritter. At ET5504 is my man Tasker. And it's kind of cool. Last week on the show as we get started, I talked about the situation out in Wyoming. And they had made some changes to some rules and how it was going to affect DIY Western big game hunts. SB 103, or known as the 90-10 rule, it really kind of broke into that and just gave a little bit of insight as to some things that I've read and seen. And part of what I alluded to in the conversation was, feeling like some of the changes are making it so DIY Western game hunts are going to become almost impossible without an outfitter. Well, I actually had someone reach out to me that used to be a Wyoming outfitter, now happens to live in Texas, but wanted to give an insight in his side as to what it looks like, and that it's actually not, as I may have said, just to protect the outfitters, and exactly how it broke down. So it didn't work out. We were able to get him for the show this week, but next week we're going to definitely try and get him on the show. And we'll talk a bit about that whole situation and kind of break it down as far as what exactly it is, get it from an outfitter's perspective, and just someone who's actually been out there, lived out there, and done the Western hunt that can give some more of that perspective, because there's always a lot of things that fly around on the internet.
Yeah, and it's always that way, though, it seems, where everybody just hears or thinks whatever the first thing is that they read about, like whether that was like the firearm sale changes. How I couldn't get, say, a firearm from my uncle in his will or something like that. Right. Or, there's so much controversy around the wolf hunts too, and everybody's got their opinion about that. And you almost have to read like a dozen or a half dozen articles about something just to kind of get, multiple perspectives before you can really form an opinion about it. I mean, we've always got an opinion just to give like a knee-jerk reaction to things, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what this guy has to say about it all, especially coming from somebody who's within that community that is like very, very well versed in it, to actually get it from, somebody involved with it all.
And as I mentioned to him in the emails, we've kind of swapped back and forth about things, is in any topic, in any issue, anything we even talk about here on the show, anything that you see, read, or hear about is just one layer of paint on the whole project. So we got one layer, we're going to get another layer of paint, and maybe then we can kind of really try and put together the pieces of the puzzle of something that's, kind of controversial all over the internet. So look forward to that coming up next week on the show. I want to talk this week, though, about some turkey hunting and a cool project that, Wags, you've got involved with this last year. So we'll touch base on that. We're going to talk about some bass fishing stuff because I, am obviously the big bass head and so excited for fishing this year. And more specifically when it comes to bass fishing, professional bass fishing tournaments. And something I've noticed recently happening a lot at bass fishing tournaments. And yes, I know fishing's a lot on my mind, which is weird considering the strange weather that we've had in the upper Midwest, like snow to wrap up the month of March. It's just absolutely crazy. Okay, here's a quick one for you, Tasker. Have you heard the phrase, March comes in like a lion, goes out like a lamb?
Yes.
But can it go the other way? Because I kind of feel like that's what we got. Like it came in like a lamb and went out like a lion.
I know. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing that's the case. So I love how we've seen those images that go around social media where it's like winter, fall, spring, second winter, like full spring, third winter, and then actually spring, because now we've been in spring for what is it, 2 weeks now or something like that, where it's technically calendar year, it's spring. I don't know, man. My birthday's in May, and I know that when I was a kid, we even had snow on my birthday, May 12th, and it's like, you just never know what we're going to get around here. But it has really been nice to have these like 60-degree days because it just kind of clears everything out, get rid of all that like gross, grimy kind of gray snow.
Oh, but allergies, man, I've been nuts.
Yeah, the allergies are bad, but it's nice to kind of start to feel that optimism for the fishing opener, turkey season. There's a lot coming our way. So,
okay, so here's another thought-provoking question for you here. What is more exciting, spring or fall? Like, what season is more exciting, has more excitement for you, Task?
I think that mine is fall, spring, summer, and then winter, if I had to rank them.
Okay.
I love the summer where we kind of go through this, like really, of course, everybody loves when it's 85 degrees every day and you can get out and just do so much. But I love the transition from summer to fall. And then my next is the transition into spring because, we've gone through this really short days. Days are starting to get longer. We went through daylight savings time, well, albeit for however long that lasts. So I'm not really like a full season kind of person. I'm a transition person, where I like that, that time where we're kind of in that flux where things are starting to change. The leaves are turning or the leaves are starting to get green. I don't know. What about you?
I'm just thinking about that as you're just talking. It's like, I feel mine goes directly in order of the seasons. I'm going to be spring, summer, fall, winter, because obviously spring, there's so much excitement of like warm days to come. Summer's coming. For me, like fishing's coming and what that means. And I get a summer, I am fishing and it's bonfires outside and, spending time doing things outside when the weather's nice and it's not, miserable and terrible. Then obviously get into fall and it's excitement of hunting. And I also love just like that whole thought of a crisp fall night, like those first couple of cold fall nights when it's like a fire in the fireplace at the house and, everything associated with that. Winter is just, what we have to go through in the upper Midwest to get all the other great stuff we have.
Yeah. Well, I didn't hear you say anything about raking leaves or like picking up dog poop in spring. I mean, none of those came into the conversation there, which is something that we've all got to deal with.
I'm lucky. I actually don't have any trees like actually on my property, so I don't have the whole lot of the leaf situation of like raking. I kind of let the wind do its work there. Springtime, yes, I will admit there is a bit of the cleanup needed, but depending on how much rain or something may get, sometimes that just gets washed in as fertilizer, and I notice as the grass starts growing, it's a little thicker in certain spots over others.
Yeah, we get the same thing, but I mean, fortunately, we have woods in our backyard. We're like adjacent to a public park that has a wooded area on one side of it. But we also have a pretty old tree in the middle of our front yard. So it's like, I bet it's probably, I did a better job of it last year, but I did the leaf blower probably, I think it was 3 or 4 times over the fall because I didn't ever want it to get really bad, It's just kind of nice to be out there when it's like, you're so used to the summer temps and then all of a sudden you get hoodie weather and you're out there and it's like 50 degrees and sun shining. And
the thing that's crazy about that is when the leaves are falling from the trees, you'd actually rather be up in the trees hunting.
Right. Yeah, but you just get to think about it at that point then.
It's Ritter, Tasker, Wags, and we're going to talk turkey hunting some stuff with Wags and a cool project that he's involved with coming up here in just a bit. But I want to touch base on bass fishing tournaments and specifically canceling because of weather. All right, this has happened quite a few times in the last couple of years. You look back, MLF has had 2 tournaments basically canceled, one just a few weeks ago in the Harris chain, and then last weekend, Santee Cooper. That day number 3 was called off. I'm so glad, though, by the way, that they were originally going to cancel day 3, which was the Saturday, and then have the full 47 cut that would have went Saturday all go on Championship Sunday. But the fact that they were able to extend it and add the extra day on Monday so they could do the full normal 4-person tournament so that, a couple of anglers that were really close in chasing that century belt were able to do it. In fact, 2 of them did. Drew Cook, obviously the winner, got his century belt. And then our own local boy, Caleb Kufall. Congrats to Caleb, who went over the century mark, landing 103 pounds and 1 ounce, I believe it was. It's just, awesome to see a guy from right here in our neck of the woods in McGuanago doing so well on the Elite Series. And what's even more impressive about Caleb is that he was able to cross the century mark with only 19 fish, the 5-fish day limit, the 4 days. Every other angler that's ever done it has got the full, limits for all 4 days. He fell the fish short from the Friday of the tournament and still was able to do 100%. That to me just says how impressive of fishery that is. And that'll give Caleb the compliments of how good of an angler he was. He was able to find those big fish. But what do you think, Tasker, as far as weather canceling? Should they cancel? Should they try and find a way to, the normal everyday, we've got to fish through any elements that we have. Should they do that? Should they reschedule? What do you think?
So a couple things with that. The first question I was going to ask you is what did they do with pricing then? Because if what I hate about that is if they're just straight up canceling it and there's no prizing, there's no prize purse that's distributed.
Right.
That's a big impact for people. I mean, the money that these guys, they're paying to get into these tournaments and everything, that's a huge disadvantage to them then, because that's their income that you're messing with. Then.
Sponsors. I mean, looking at all that stuff too.
Yeah. So just any of those bonuses and kickbacks that they might be getting with that outside of prize purse, it's a significant difference to them. The other thing is are they rescheduling it? Like you said, I mean, they afforded top 10 the opportunity to do, next day or whatever. So that's good. So if they're just kind of adjusting it, or if they're shortening the tournament or whatever, I still think they got to go through with prize purse, distribution. Still got to go through weigh-ins and do all of that. You think, I mean, this is the exact same way that I felt. I'm sure you're well aware of this whole Eric Church controversy that's been this week, that, his big thing is he's always been a UNC fan. And there's this really historic game tonight that Duke is playing UNC. And I've had so many people reach out to me because, of course, I'm this diehard Eric Church fan, and he just canceled the event, his show that was supposed to be in San Antonio over the weekend. And I have always said, I'm good with the cancellation. It's a historic thing, but you got to reschedule it. You can't cancel it. You just got to reschedule the show. That's how I've always felt about it. Because very similarly, people are flying there. People are paying for hotel rooms, just like all the pros are doing. So kind of a tangent, but also very similar in the sense that, I mean, why not just at least bump it? And, it might throw off travel plans on the backside of it for the anglers that are going to the next destination, but at least give them the chance to finish out the tournament.
Like, I mean, have we just all gotten sick of cancellations, like, after the last 2 years? Anytime you hear the word cancel, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah. Canceled shows, canceled celebrities.
And back to that Santee Cooper tournament, man, it was just so fun to watch. And I don't know if it's just that, like, I've been watching more bass fishing this season because I'm just, like, so excited to get back into fishing this year. Or I don't know what it is, but I spent a lot of time watching it. And as much as it was for, just enjoying it, it was the sheer size of the fish and the way that these guys were able to work it, and it's kind of like bed fishing, and just it was, to me, just so intriguing and interesting. And that's always why I've gotten so into actually watching bass fishing as an angler. I feel that I learned so much by watching these Elite Series pros on the water, because you get to see decisions they make and kind of get really a little bit more into their head. And it's not just like one person. You get to see different perspectives of different anglers, because every angler approaches things differently. There's certain ways and styles of fishing that I think are better suited toward my style and who I am versus other people. I am not a big flipping, pitching. That's not I'm more of a moving baits, so to watch more of that and like learning and seeing more techniques. Okay, I know to be more well-rounded, I've got to get better at that. I've got to focus more on doing this thing. So this is how this guy's doing it. And the fact that 2 people went over the century mark of that tournament was absolutely just mind-blowing to me, including, Caleb Kufal from right here. Which, by the way, invite is still open. Caleb Kufal, want to join? I get that, we're not Dave Mercer. He did Dave Mercer's podcast this week, but I get it. But invite's always open. Love to have you. It's a local Wisconsin boy. Wanted to say hi, say congrats, and kind of give you that high five of sorts. So,
what were the actual conditions that forced it to cancel? Was it lightning? Was it
high winds, hail, and lightning were potentials from the National Weather Service that afternoon of the third day. So.
Yeah, you just got to be realistic about it. We've talked about like Ironman races and stuff like that. And there's just so much stress that goes into that. You obviously first and foremost want to have safe conditions to be able to do what you love. It's something you got to take into consideration. There's nothing you can do about that. Mm-hmm. So canceling is one thing, but at least just postponing it and letting these guys fish out on Monday or the next day or whatever that might be, or shortening the tournament. The one thing I will say about that though is I would rather, if there's, say it's a Saturday that gets canceled and the guys still at least have Sunday to fish, I think they should always have at least one more day after that, so that it's not just cut off, because you don't know what's going to happen on that last day, and it just be kind of put in that position that, it is what it is in the past. I don't like that, but I think at least giving them one additional day or a half day even to get out there and to be able to have a couple hours to get out there and try and target some fish. I think that's at least fair.
Yeah, just to me, it seems like this whole weather canceling or things has just become so much more common of a thing the last years. Or maybe it's just because present is always, top of mind, so to speak, that it feels like it's been happening more lately than it ever did before in the past. I don't know, but it was just something that popped in my head. I'm like, I just feel like so many cancellations of these things. And
everybody's much more concerned about safety now, I guess. I don't know.
Concerned about safety or concerned about being sued?
Yes.
It's just interchangeable S words at times. Tailgate Talk brought to you by friends at Buck Rub Outfitters, just off of Silvernail Road in Pewaukee. I mentioned turkey season coming up. Maybe if you're someone like me hunting turkeys with a bow, you got to get into your pro shop. You got to check them out. Maybe hit one of the ranges at a place like Buck Rub. Yeah, they've got 3 amazing ranges. One of them's outdoors, going to be opening up pretty soon. They've got video scenes. They've also got an amazing indoor course to get you tuned up for turkey season or keep yourself sharp for all season long. And they've got all the new bows from Bowtech, Matthews, and more, plus some awesome products they make themselves. Check them out, buckrubarchery.com. And if you want to follow our show on socials, we'd love to have you join the conversation. It is at On the Tailgate. I am Sean Ritter, at The Real Ritter, joined by Eric Tasker, at ET5504, and a former Major Leaguer, Paul Wagner, a.k.a. Wags. And I know you wanted to kind of get into some turkey talk here, Tasker.
Yeah, so, me being just kind of this novice and just hearing all the excitement about turkey hunting, what are you guys – so what is your week? Which week are you on? Because it's – like mid to end of April through the end of May, right? It's 5 weeks?
Yeah, I've got the 3rd week.
So what are you doing right now? Do you have anything kind of slotted? I mean, are you doing anything in prep? Are you getting out and shooting your bow? Because that's the goal, is to take one with...
Honestly, I've been doing tackle prep.
Fishing tackle.
Yeah, tackle prepping for the 2022 season is what I've been doing. And I know it's not what I should be doing. I should have my calls out. I should have them with me when I'm driving everywhere, practicing calling. I should have the bow out and should be shooting. It's been completely off my mind.
So knowing that now, knowing that you haven't had that time, what do your next couple weeks look like then?
I definitely got to get the bow out, start shooting in the backyard. I mean, given we can, weather allows it. But, Wags, how about you?
I generally keep in the same exact spot, and I just put up my turkey blinds. The one thing that came up this year is people have been telling me that they have now been hunting out of elevated blinds. They're raising their ground blinds possibly 2 to 3 feet off of the ground on a platform, and they feel it's better. And the exact quote was, once you raise it up, you never go back. And I'm like, I've never experienced that. I've always thought, hunting turkeys, you have to be ground level. That's where you are. Your purrs, your clucks, your putts, your gobbles,
yeah,
your kikis, whatever you're doing, you want to be on that same level. But then again, as I'm thinking with elevated deer stands, all your rattles, all your snort wheezes, everything you do is elevated as well. So if the animal can comprehend elevation, well, they know that when we're deer hunting, man, that noise is coming from up high. Those rattling horns are high. Deer don't fight in the trees, so do turkeys, correlate that way. But they say, hey, elevate your ground blind a couple feet, and once you experience it, you'll love it.
That thought crossed my mind sitting up at a tree stand, going, why not just turkey hunt up here?
Right.
Typically, turkeys are looking on the ground and what's around them. They're not necessarily looking up, I wouldn't think. Why does no one do that? Why has this not been a thing? And I even looked in the regs, and I couldn't see anything in the regulations that said you couldn't hunt elevated or hunt from a tree stand.
Because then they might just think you might have to put a beard on yourself and just sit up in your stand, and they may think you're still roosted too, and then you can shoot them from the roost. Because that brings up another question, as I've heard other people talk. Is it illegal or is it just unethical to shoot a turkey or a bird in roost? Do you always have to wait for that bird to land and start to run around, strut, and do his show, or are you allowed to shoot it elevated in a roost still?
Well, here's a great scenario that'll go with that. You're a waterfowler. Do you ever shoot? Do you ever do a ground pound? You ever shoot a bird while it's on the water?
Yes.
So I feel that
is that illegal?
That's what I'm saying. It's not. It's completely fine. It's just an ethics thing. So to me, if you're going to water pound, what's the difference of shooting in a roost? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't sit in a duck blind, but if one falls before, because we don't have a dog, so when it's sputtering around, yeah, I'll throw. I don't pond. I don't like pond swat. I don't sneak up on woodies in a small little bowl and try to sneak up on them and then just see three drakes sitting there or two and try to pop when they're swimming around. I don't do that, I guess, but. I have seen people with the turkeys. I've actually seen them on cornfields or field edges following these birds, and before they come into the woods or the hardwoods themselves, maybe about 50 to 30 to 50 yards out, they decide to elevate, and then they go and they roost right above them. And I have heard people shoot them up in the roost when they landed because they put in their time so long.
Wow, yeah, it's an interesting take. I guess at least just from a vision perspective, it would be better to be in that elevated position. You just, even just a foot above them. You think about on in fishing. I'll give you this. Everything for me always comes back to fishing. You think about sitting in a seat in a bass boat and looking at the water, you can't see much. Well, then you stand up and you see a little bit more into the water. Then go up and stand up on the front deck, or even stand on a cooler on the front deck, and you can see so much more. So just that little bit, you keep getting higher, you get more vision of everything. So it would make sense that visually you just might see a little more by being up, even if it's just, 1-2 feet.
Yeah, exactly. Great point. Correlating it both that way, because you see so many turkey hunters. I hear him coming. I hear him. I don't know. He's over there. He's over here. If you were elevated a little bit, maybe you see that. Maybe you see that head coming a little bit sooner. Maybe you realize, or all of a sudden you see a fan as it comes over the knoll a little quicker. I believe height might be an advantage to basically all hunting aspects.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of turkey hunting, we got on that topic. You got a pretty cool project you're working on, or something to do with turkey hunting this year, right?
Well, what happened was being when I used to play in Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania, boy, a lot of believe it or not, a couple of our listeners, a guy named Pat Reed, is a representative for Terminal Game Calls, and that's out of Western Pennsylvania, maybe about an hour north of Pittsburgh, and they have great turkey calls. The problem is I'm a slate guy. They did send me a nice glass pot. I did not, furbish. I didn't sandpaper it yet, so I haven't heard the sound out of that. But my slates are actually sounding awesome. I've never been a mouth guy, and I don't remember if we've talked about it or not. But when you get these mouthpieces, the reeds seem to have slits in different areas, obviously for different sounds.
Yep.
I'm just trying to get used to it. But with multiple choices like that and a well-priced, now I don't know what Terminal Game Calls are going to do. It's Zach Termine, great guy. If you email him, I think we talked about it last week, or if not, you can mention it again. We got the email address, and if you're looking for something, they're reasonably priced. And obviously a good product. I love it. I think they're great, but I'm still learning the mouth and those different slits and cuts and reeds, because if you don't know what you're doing, it can be very confusing.
Yeah, they all help with different tones and stuff. I'm a big mouth call person, and then I used to do a lot of slate, but I actually have glass. I moved over to glass now. I really like the tones and some of the versatility of having the glass over slate instead. I run a Phelps. Both my mouth calls and my slates are Phelps. But yeah, I'm telling you, the glass is really good. I think you get some really good tones out of it, and maybe I'll have to show you little tricks. And I don't do sandpaper. I've actually got like a honing stone. I use the stone on mine. I feel it gets even better, and it kind of digs into that glass a little bit better than even just like a sandpaper would do.
And do you have to address the surface multiple times, or is it a one-time application, or does it get glass particles? Does it get dusty? Do you have to clean it off? Do you rag it? Do you soft cloth it, or what do you do?
I'll usually, before every hunt, I'll just kind of give a little and kind of get it re-going. The whole thing is the glass is back and forth one way. It's not, like slate, you can kind of rough up in circles or different directions. Glass is just, you really just want to do a straight back and forth one way, the same direction. You don't want to be swirling. It's straight back and forth, because then you can go against those ridges, and that's what, with your striker, is going to make those tones. And again, I think between the vibration of that glass over the slate, you can get different tones than, your traditional slates will give you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think they look cool. It's great. Then thanks to them for getting you hooked up and involved with those guys. And hopefully it'll, mean a big ol' double-bearded Tom for you this spring.
I waited on that double bearder last year. I want them. I have decided though that I think my first bird with the multiple seasons, especially with the over counters that have already taken place, and now that we got 4, 5, or 3, 4, and 5, at least 4 and 5, I think a harder bird to hunt, obviously, as the season gets later. But then I will go, unless I see that double bird, I will bring multiple. I will try. My bow will be my first weapon of choice, but with the lack of time for actually honing in, because of the fact we talked about this with the deer hunting, I shot above both times. I tightened up my bow, more poundage. I didn't accelerate or adjust sightings. I don't know what it was, but instead of giving a haircut, the last thing I want to do is miss that double beard. So that double beard comes out, I think he's going to have to get he's going to get a long beard 12 gauge right
go.
through him.
Yeah, my season I think is going to be short. I think last year I took some days off and really kind of focused it, because that was like my first, I'm really going to try and shoot a turkey with a bow, and so I wanted to give it the best try I could. I just kind of really wanted to give it the best try I could, because it's the first time actually going after turkey with a bow. But I still think shooting my bow more, specifically this year, I need to shoot my bow much more before I can go turkey hunt, just to feel confident in it.
I felt that way last year, where I shot so much over the course of the summer, but then obviously getting the new Matthews and all that, I just felt like I needed to shoot more, and I shot at longer distances and things. But just starting to get reps in, I feel like is at least a starting point for you. And then so you're gonna get the bow out here in the next couple weeks, and you're gonna start riding around with calls. Is there anything else that you typically do in preparation for that? I mean, I don't know that there really is much else.
Getting out scouting. I always like to spend some time a couple of days beforehand of my season, almost like tournament pre-fishing. Get out and at least get in the woods, hear what's going on, to kind of collect what's happening and develop a game plan for when I actually do hunt.
All right. Yeah, so I'm just curious about that. I know how I prep for deer season. I know how that all how those months leading up to it. Really it is months, and it would have been nice for us to be able to do the league at, wow, my brain's not working either, at Buck Rub.
It's been a long winter. I feel like nobody's brains are working.
Yeah, and yeah, that would have been nice, just because you've got months, then you've got no lag time in between, setting the bow down and picking it back up again. So yeah, I'm just curious about that's kind of what your plan is. And, first and foremost, you want to know that you're going to, whenever you get an opportunity for a shot, you're going to be able to take a shot, and that you're going to feel confident in that.
Yeah, as you know, I mean, anytime confidence is such a huge part in anything you do in and around the outdoors, whether it's, hunting or even just fishing. Having confidence in a bait, having confidence in what you're doing, having confidence in a spot. Confidence, I think, is probably number one. Knowledge is important, but confidence is definitely next closest in importance to anything in the outdoors. And that's actually where we're going to wrap it up for this week. Let's call it a show. Thank you so much for checking out Tailgate Talk. Again, would love to have you follow us on our socials @On the Tailgate. I am @TheRealRitter. That's REEL, like fishing reel. RIDDER, @ET5504 is my man Eric Tasker, Paul Wagner as well. For everybody here on Tailgate Talk, we'll catch you on the next one.